Assalamu alaikum to my dear guest and assalamu alaikum to my audience. You are live with Rehana today, and the topic we actually have for today that India must release Kashmiri political prisoners. And I would like to welcome my guest, Mehmood Faiz, who is the chair of Liberal Democrat Friends of Kashmir, and he is the JKLF campaign manager. And today we are going to be discussing on this topic about the political prisoners. So the first question, which I'm going to be asking, Mahmoud Faz, is that what is the definition of a political prisoner? And Kashmiri political prisoners, are they legally or illegally being arrested and detained by India?
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me on your great show, Rana. And you asked me the question about. Sorry, just read the question again. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah,
Could you please?
my question is that what is the definition of a political prisoner, and
Right.
the
Yes.
way India has actually arrested and detained Kashmiri political prisoners, is it legal or is it illegal?
Yeah, the definite political prisoner arises from the Geneva Convention on political prisoners, and it basically the Geneva Convention arise from originally from the document called the U.S. Declaration of Human Rights, and the both link quite well together. The Geneva Convention is an individual who is prosecuted for holding political views. Those political views can be on religion, on freedom of association, on the right to assembly. So it's basically if you arrest someone just because he wants to assemble with a group of people he feels comfortable with, you arrest someone because his political views are opposite to yours or ones you may not agree with, and he expresses and for expressing those views. So you arrest anyone for that, you have arrested someone on political grounds. To arrest someone on political grounds or detain them is actually against international law. And that's international law is based on just decent humanity, basic law. In other words, if, for example, a group of my friends, we want to say, look, we don't like the fact that London doesn't have enough red buildings. We like more red buildings. And the mayor of London said, no, actually arrest them because I want all the buildings to be blue. So that's the simplest way of explaining it. So A, we hold a political view because we want something certain way, but we have done no harm to anybody. B, we associated, we have a group of people together. So again, that's that's the law. So these are the basic sort of things. And what they do, what the Geneva Convention does is allow people to express themselves, express their opinion without a fear of prosecution. That means you can associate, have whole associated views, and express those views without fear. Because once you have a law, or you don't have a law player, and someone's fear of expressing their views or expressing the way they think things should be done, then you don't have a true democracy, and you cannot have a democracy flourish because you don't have the views of everyone that have been taken into consideration when making any decision. Does that explain it?
Yes, that does. So basically, what I understand is in simple words, is that I know myself, that every country gives a political right to their citizens to actually express their views. So if they're not happy with something under the article, under the constitution, they do have a right that they can actually express their concerns about something happening in the country, and the government has to look into it because it's been elected by the people of the country, because it's called democracy. But if they don't allow them to actually say something, then that is actually breaking the law. And a political prisoner is somebody that who has a political, as you explained earlier, opinion, and that opinion is not being accepted by the government. Now, in these circumstances, the question I asked you is about the Kashmiri a political prisoner. So because Kashmir is a disputed state under India and Pakistan, and because of that reason, what we hear about India is doing at the moment, any arrest which is done due to a political view or anything to do with Indian politics, like India has no right to actually arrest or detain any Kashmiri because it's not part of India, and is under the observation of United Nations under this security resolution. So this is like what I feel. But thank you for your answer. I would like to move on to our second question. So the second question is that, like, do you think India has violated Geneva Convention 1 and its article and paragraphs? And would you like to tell us that which article and paragraph they have violated for keeping the remains of Shaheed Makbul Butt and Shaheed Afzal Guru since the last 3 decades?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have to. I'm going to start off with the two persons out. But first of all, has India broken international law? Well, I don't think you need to be a top barrister in the country to work that out. Yes, they have. They've broken it on several grounds and on several. First of all, if we go back to what I said earlier, is the right of expression association. For example, it's made any organization that first expression. The people of Kashmir have clearly expressed they were never a part of India because Kashmir was never part of the British Raj. So they're never part of the India. Uh, by the amount of demonstrations we've had, they've demonstrated that they're not a part of India. And by India having 800,000 armed soldiers, India has also proven that Kashmir is not a part of India because otherwise, why would they need so many soldiers? Uh, it has stopped demonstrations from taking place. What that is called the right to associate. In other words, if we don't agree with something, we want to group of us want to get together and express our views through a demonstration, then that is recognized through Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Geneva Convention. India has stopped that. Then there's the ones to prosecute. So if we do decide to do it, we're prosecuted in prison. So that again puts fear and prejudice on our political views. Then, of course, the more serious issue we're doing is on journalism. Journalism is not only under attack in Kashmir by the Indian Army, it's under attack in the whole of India. Because let's remember, the Nazis didn't just turn up and suddenly all the German people turned against our Jewish cousins. They've been doing it for years, using the Jewish people as scapegoat for all the failures of the economic policies of Adolf Hitler, the fascist. And same thing is happening in India. Modi has decimated the economy of India. He needs scapegoats, and the scapegoats are the Muslims in India. So if anyone speaks up against our political trials, tell the truth, they are severely punished through Sedation Act. That's a ridiculous thing. Because as you know, in the UK, me and you read prison, we see every article nearly every day in every newspaper against the Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So you did that more than India. I imagine you would be arrested on a sedition or treachery. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people in prison in the UK if we did that in the UK. And I think there's a lot of people in prison in India as well for that. But there's something more serious with that. When you arrest a journalist, what you do, you install fear into other people. Say, look, if you say or try and speak the truth, this is what will happen to you. So you then end up with a very biased opinion being broadcast to your public. So the public now becomes naive. And that's
Yeah.
what's happened in India, where journalists are prosecuted so much, they're so fear of writing anything against the BJP and the Modi government that is so pro-Modi, pro-BJP, and the people in India are oblivious to what's actually going on in their country because the truth is
Yeah.
not coming out.
Going back to the question, I'm going to repeat it again because I think maybe you didn't like hear the question. It was like, is keeping the remains of Shaheed Makbul Butt and Shaheed Afzal Guru from the last 3 decades, is it against the Geneva Convention? And if it is, then which articles and paragraph does it come under?
Well, I can't give you the specific article, but again, you don't need to be a top barrister for those things. If, for example, I commit a crime, I'll break a window and I go to prison for it, I'll come out. Once I've come out of prison, I paid my price for breaking that window. So if a Magul Afzal Guru did commit that and were found guilty, if they did, and we accept that as guilt, they were hanged. Their body no longer belongs to the state. The state has no right to their body. The only people who have a right to their body is their family for a decent burial. for 36 years, obviously more recent for Afzal, but for Maqbul, but for 36 years, the people of Kashmir have been standing shoulder to shoulder with the family of Maqbul Bhatt to say that his remains should be returned to the family for decent burial. And it's very important that continue. Even recently, there was a demonstration in London. So, so it's not just the family of Maqbul Bhatt that's campaigning, but that family has extended to the whole of people of Kashmir, saying they are the family of Maqbul Bhatt as much as his own direct family. And the
Yes.
message is loud and clear: until the Indian government does do the decent thing, the people of Kashmir, alongside Maqbul, will keep demonstrating and be the
Yes,
voice
and
family
it's
of Maqbul Bhatt.
amazing that we never hear anywhere in the world history that these things have been committed by keeping the remains for over 3 decades, and it's a very long time. So by doing that, what India has done is it has actually violated not only its own constitution, it has even violated like Geneva Convention 1. Article 13 and paragraph 3, because it has not like given the remains back, and whenever anybody is asking them, they are creating it into a political issue to arrest people in Kashmir. Now in people around the world like UK, we actually had a protest last week because of that, and we are keep on all the Kashmiris, from it doesn't matter whatever ideologies they believe, that we all are keep on asking them that they need to like return the remains. Now one thing more I will add on, and before we move on to our third question, is that when they decided to hang, it was done within a night. And normally even in Indian like constitution and Indian like the parliament, when they decide to hang somebody in the circumstances of actually like our shaheeds, they can't do it in one day. They need to make sure that it's been actually like spoken to other members from the parliament, and they agree to something. So this was something which they did within a night. So they not only actually violated like the Geneva Convention which India signed, they even violated their own articles. They even violated their own parliament. So these are things that people need to know about. And I would like to actually move on to our third question, which is that like do you think AFSAFA, which is Armed Forces Special Powers Act, PSA, Public Safety Act, and UPA, which is Unlawful Activities Provision Act, are they protecting Kashmiris as civilians, as youth, as human rights activists, journalists, and freedom fighters under the Fourth Geneva Convention? And under the Indian articles, do you think these laws are helping them to protect people, civilians, and other people I mentioned?
Well, when the when this India brought these acts in, these acts weren't there to protect the public or protect liberty, decency, or democracy. These acts were brought in because India had failed. It had failed, and he had lost control of Kashmir. And the only way it could gain it, or give justification, was to bring these illegal acts in, which are against international laws and laws of normalcy. These acts allow Indian soldier to arrest someone arbitrarily and imprison them for up to 5 years without a charge. Now, let's just picture that. Remember that in Kashmir we take education very, very seriously. So if I'm in my first year of university and I get arrested where I've done nothing wrong, but I'm allowed to be kept for 5 years, by the time I've come out, my university degree's over. So I'm now uneducated. I cannot, it's you can see where that's sort of where I'm coming from. So, it affects people's life really. Then it allows them to arbitrary arrest and, you know, enter people's homes. There was a very good argument that soldiers actually going into homes and were even stealing flour and rice from homes, taking people's basically everyday necessities, and just the army was just stealing them. There's nothing they could do. These are. Then there's another one where the army was using bribery as a revenue, and it was taking youth of Kashmir, simply arresting them, and then the family would be asked for a bribe for their release, and basically blackmailing. Uh, there's that. Then the Geneva Convention also says that rape cannot be used as a weapon. All the sorry, I wasn't well, but I had to do the interview. Um,
Thank you for
the
coming.
and it's clearly proven now that rape has been used as a weapon in Kashmir, especially Kunar Pashpura. So nobody's safe, and this if nobody's safe, and rape can be used as a weapon which against international law, these laws are not there to protect the people of Kashmir. They are there to protect the corruption politicians and the soldiers who are breaking international law. The other thing the soldiers may not realize is that just because they're protected by Indian law, because Indian law says they cannot be prosecuted, so they're given a carte blanche and
Impunity.
said that you'll be protected. No one can do anything. You go rape, murder, pillage, arson. You want it, but they're actually wrong because there's nothing. When you get a when it comes to human right, national law does not apply. Only international law apply. So therefore, if for example I saw a soldier in let's say streets of London, and I recognized him, and I could prove that he had committed a crime in Kashmir, I can do a citizen arrest and ask a police officer to arrest him immediately, and he can be arrested and charged. So all these soldiers that committed these crimes, they basically will become prisoners themselves. Because once the data is collected, they can be arrested anywhere in the world. And in particular, Canada. That's the reason if you apply for a visa in Canada from India, they'll actually ask you whether you have served in Punjab or Kashmir. And they will not give you a visa. For simple in that if you enter and someone recognizes you, they can arrest you and you'll be and the Canadian government will then be applied to arrest you and charge you. So when the BGP government and Modi are telling these soldiers or giving the indication they are safe, they're not safe from international law. They may be safe under some right-wing extremist government that's in place now in India. But should they step out of India, it's a different situation. They can and hopefully one day will be arrested by international by under international law.
Yes, I totally agree. And I was just going to add on that point, and you added it on about Canada. Now, many Indian soldiers have been refused a Canadian visa. So I would like the audience that within their own time, if they can go and Google that, they will see that many Canadian like parents, like whose children are living there, and they're asking their retired parents from the army to come and join them. They have been refused on the basis for actually serving, as you said, in Punjab and in
Yes.
Kashmir, and in seven sister states like Manipur and Nagaland, which have a lot of like Christian like majority there, and they have been suffering like this law I talked about earlier of Safa. So this is the actually the reality that anybody can recognize them and they can actually go to the courts wherever they are based. And we even know that at the moment, like there's a Kashmiri firm which is in England called actually Whitestock. Like they have actually filed a case under the war crimes on Indian like Amit Shah and on the chief army officer as well. So they are actually going to go for the international prosecution. So this is an indication that like the world, you might be saving in your own country because the laws of your country are saving you. Like in Afsafa law, you are given impunity under section 7. So like you can get away and nobody will answer, you're not answerable to anybody, and you can just do whatever you like because you are a serving officer. But when you step out of India, you are answerable to the world. So yes, I agree with you. And before I actually move on to the next question, I would actually answer is that like under the fourth Geneva Article 159, India is actually like violating its actually responsibility towards the civilians of Jammu and Kashmir by actually arresting and torturing them. and India is also violating its own articles. Now, why is it violating its own articles? Although India has nothing to do with Kashmir, like it doesn't have any legality on Kashmir, but because Indians keep on saying that Kashmir is a tooth ang, like integral part of India. So even if you view it in that way, it is actually violating its own articles, because it's not attacking Kashmir, it's attacking its own constitution, in a constitution 1949, and the article is violating is Article 14, Article 15, Article 19, Article 21, Article 22, and Article 25. So there are a lot of articles that India is actually violating, and there may be many more which I haven't said, because if I start talking about Indian law, there's going to be a lot of articles and laws I'm going to be talking, and it's not going to be ending. It might take a few hours for actually talk about the war crimes and the crimes against humanity India has been committed since it's been created since 1947. Okay, I'm going to be moving on to our next question, which is our fourth question. So the fourth question is, the fourth question is that does India have the right to detain and arrest Kashmiri children under a Public Safety Act? Like we hear little children, 9, 10, 11 years old, who are throwing stones on the occupational forces, and they come and detain them, and youth being in it, and youth. So the youth they have been arrested are the youth from school and colleges. Like we hear that they were cheering Pakistani cricket team after they won the match against India a few months ago. And then they also have actually like martyred like Zia Mustafa. He was like a national from Azad Kashmir who crossed the borders, and he went there in a very young age as a teenager. And although he was a teenager, he was an adult. They kept him in prison for more than 14 years, and then they actually martyred him in a fake encounter. And we also hear a student last year October, he was actually detained by Indian occupational forces when he went back to Srinagar from Islamabad in his like holidays, and his name is Asif Shabir Naik. So I would like to know that like all these laws they have been applying on Kashmiri children and youth under the occupation of India, and it's a disputed state. So are these all laws valid, and can India just get away with it? And the other last thing, sorry, this question is a bit long. And the other last thing I will add on is that there are two options. You can either be Indian or Pakistani in the United Nations, because they give you two options to follow. So if they consider themselves as Pakistani, does India have any right to actually violate international laws and arrest or detain Pakistani citizens?
Right.
Thank you.
First of all, let me start with the youngest sort of.
Yeah.
No, I mean all international laws, Geneva Convention and the United Declaration of Human Rights, are based on what you call normalcy, decency, and we know that someone from sort of 16, 18 under is still developing and building a picture of the world around them. Because they have not built that picture around them of the world yet, they are not legally responsible for their actions. So to arrest someone, a juvenile, is against normal decency and against international law. The youngest person I understand that was ever arrested by the Indian Army, I think, was a 9-year-old girl, if memory serves me right, and she was taken at midnight as well, alongside with her family. In particular, there's a particular date on the 5th of October 2019 when the army raided homes and he took away 36 juvenile children. That's on was just one night. Some of them were charged, some of them were released, but no juvenile can be charged anyway under international law of decency. There was an Indian organization, women's organization, that went and studied to look into how many children were actually imprisoned by the Indian Army. And it's a federation of the National Federation of Women in India that did that. And at this moment, there is 13,000 children that are in prison.
That's
That's
a
a
huge
horrendous
number.
figure.
That's a huge number, like children.
That's a huge number. And I think it's important for our viewers to grasp that figure in. You know, look around you. You got grandchildren, children, nieces, nephews. Look at them. That's them in prison, and 13,000 of them are in prison. And remember, in that part of the region, there is very little protection for children for their safety. So we don't know how safe they are, what environment, what the prison's like. And quite often they're arrested and they're not even told what prison they're in. It's actually against the Indian constitution or the Kashmir constitution to actually take a prisoner out of Kashmir. But India has been doing that for decades now. So they could be anywhere. And it's what they sometimes do. They will purposely move a Christian prisoner right at the other end of India so that his relatives and his family cannot see him and is deprived of any communication
They've
and
actually
any legal representation.
they've actually done this with a lot of Kashmiri leaders. They put them in so far away that the
Yeah,
families are not able to afford or even go and visit them. Yes.
absolutely. Then you became to the Indo-Pak question: should Kashmir join Pakistan or India? The United Nations resolution has changed into just the two options, but I think there's a third option that sort of came in quite built up value in 1980s. That let's Kashmir was independent. It was never part of the British Raj, so we had it as an independent. It was returned back to being independent. It could very possibly be a bridge of peace between the two nations, and besides Kashmir, there is no reason that India should be at war. War does nothing. All war does is make arms supply in the West rich and Pakistan and India poorer. That's all it does. It does nothing for Pakistan. It does nothing for India. It does nothing for the common in Pakistan. It does nothing for the common in India. But it does everything for the rich arms supply in the West and the politicians who buy it because they get a commission from each contract. So the third option, there's that third option as well that could be a bridge of peace, that could develop as a bridge of peace, and I think that's the one that's becoming more and more popular. More and more people are looking into it. Uh, then I think what was the third part of the question?
I think the third part you just explained now, and I think I was talking about the other laws as well. Like they actually have for the youth, like they arrested them because of playing because Pakistan
Yeah,
won the
yeah,
match.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that
this
part.
again takes me back to my original comment and comparing it with the rise of Nazi fascism in Germany in 1930s.
Mm.
So once you get this propaganda machine built up where only what you say is right and everything else is wrong, uh, and if you see something that's opposite, you ultimately make it. You stop thinking. Your views are blinkered. Your views have been narrowed through this constant propaganda, 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 propaganda. I mean, in what world do you accept that? We should be free to change whatever football team, cricket team, whatever team we like. For example, I would live in Dorset. So if I was in Dorset, I support Bournemouth FC. But I
Mm.
was a lifelong supporter of West End. But that doesn't mean if I've stopped supporting West, start supporting Bournemouth, that Boris Johnson now has a right to arrest me. He doesn't. We should be free to support where we want. And
And
I
then
think,
I would
I
like to add on that. Sorry, like you and me, we actually live in England, and we see here there's so many communities living together. And although we live in UK, but when there is a match between UK or Pakistan, we all stand up for Pakistan. Although we live in UK,
yeah,
now
yeah,
now we have never seen anybody knocking on our door and saying to us that we are going to arrest you because you are celebrating that like Pakistan won and England didn't won. Like, and we hate all these things in India, like they don't make sense. And arresting children,
yeah.
youth.
Just be careful saying that, Rana, because we do have Preeti Patel as Home Secretary.
Yeah, yes. And we are facing that new law which they are trying
Yeah,
to
so
enact.
she might hear us, right?
Yeah.
No, you absolutely agree. I mean, we should be free to support whoever we want and whatever we want. And I think what that demonstrates is the insecurity that how insecure the extreme right wing feel in India.
Mm.
That even someone supporting Pakistan is an attack on them. They could be attacked and they're feeling inferior somehow and they feel under attack and insecure. That's really a danger because the people of India are great people. They're very hardworking. They're very articulate. They like to educate themselves well. And yet, in this last decade or so, where this extreme right wing government has come in place, it's made them so insecure that they feel threatened by someone
I, I,
supporting a
I
different
think
cricket team.
I think by doing this, India has confirmed, because India has a set of like anti-terrorism laws, and by doing this, India has confirmed that it treats each Indian citizen and Kashmiris who are not Indian citizen as a terrorist. So whenever somebody does anything, they take it as a terror act, and they act and they like attack on their security, and they go for them and they arrest them. They don't care what their age is. They don't care who they are. But mostly the people who they are detaining and arresting are normally non-Hindus, like they're either Muslim, Kashmiris, or Sikhs, like that we've been studying.
Yeah, but Ron, for example, again, I think it is question of the insecurity, how inferior they feel themselves. Because if, for example, I'm now in Bournemouth and someone did suppose to invest in Shatter, I don't need to attack him because I feel confidence in myself not to, because I'm confident
Mm,
only if I felt inferior myself and insecure, I would then attack him. And I
mm.
think that's what it is. The fascist movement in India, under the disguise of the BJP and the RSS, is very, very insecure. They're very, very afraid of themselves.
Yes, that's true.
And the other thing important for listeners that may not know, and I think it's important to remember that because I compared it with Nazi Germany, the RSS, I'm not far wrong on that. The RSS, which is the predecessor of BJP, the RSS was actually started by getting its inspiration from Mussolini and Hitler, and it started in 1920s. So the RSS is in India is equivalent to what the Nazis, the fascists were in Germany and Italy. So it's a fair comparison and a comparison that's quite well done. And the Hinduata
Mm.
actually translated is Nazism.
Yeah, so it's the
That's
second
what it is
name
going
of
through
of
now.
actually Nazism. Yeah, you
Yeah.
actually completely right. And I would like to add on that many people think that Congress was actually is better than BJP. I disagree, because most of the draconian laws, the anti-terrorism laws, the detention laws that we hear and we are experiencing by our loved ones or by our friends who are stuck in, like who are living in Indian occupied Kashmir, were made under the rule of the Congress. So Congress I treat it as slow poison, and when I look at BJP, it's an instant poison. So they were killing our Kashmir slowly, slowly, but BJP has started to like speed it up. Yes, you want to say something, please?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I couldn't put it better myself. There's one difference. Congress brought all those laws in. What the BGP is doing during the day, what Congress was doing during the night. That's the
Yes.
only difference. They are both wrong. They're both governments of India. They're not the governments of Kashmir. They don't represent the Kashmiris. Kashmiris don't represent them. Kashmiris didn't vote for them. Kashmir did not ask for them, and they have nothing to do with Kashmir. The other thing you said about the party, well, I'm a bit older than you, and which means that I've sort of started in 1980s on this struggle, and I've actually met people along the line. And one of them I met was Sheikh Abdullah,
Mhm.
and I met him in 1980s, and he himself in front of me, and I have 20 witnesses, including then the mayor of Newham, and he said when the courts were finding people not guilty, I was asking the police to re-arrest them.
Hmm.
Now,
Okay.
if I'm not guilty, then I'm not guilty. Why should I be arrested?
Hmm.
So your Sheikh Abdullahs, your Farooq Abdullahs, your Congress, all of these are as guilty as the RSS and the BJP, because the BJP is in the same law that brought in that were applied by under Congress.
So basically, BJP is actually working for the Congress. Congress enacted the laws, and BJP is actually making sure that everybody is actually like using those laws, and those laws are being followed. So, in simple words, this is what I will say. And the other thing I will say is that some students, like who came to Pakistan, Islamabad to study, like there was one student, his name is Asif Shabir Naik, and he got detained on Srinagar airport last year October while he was on his way back on a holiday from the university, and nobody knows where he's actually gone. So this is what India is actually doing. It's so threatened by even Kashmiris. They are not allowed to actually cross borders or even come into Azad Kashmir if they want to study or go anywhere they like. And if they suspect them, they just like detain them. And then we hear this other, like a young boy, Zia Mustafa, and there's been a lot of protest in Pakistan, in Kashmir as well for this boy who crossed the border, not the border, who crossed the ceasefire line by mistake, and he was detained and then arrested and put in prison for more than 14 years. And when it was his time to be released and come back home to Azad Kashmir, they actually took him out and said to him, "We would like to know your hideout places in Kashmir." Now, somebody who's been arrested and in prison for more than 14 years, he's not going to remember anything. And the other thing is that he wasn't even a part of any organization. He just crossed over by mistake. So they took him out and they killed him under a fake encounter because they were worried that he's going to go back and he's going to go and tell all these stories, what he has seen with his own eyes, what's happening in prison with other Kashmiris and how he was tortured over the years when he was a child. So India broke so many like laws of national laws, international laws, Geneva Convention by keeping a child because I think he was 15 years old when he was arrested. So these things I wanted to mention the name
Yeah,
so the
absolutely.
people can actually know, and just to honor them that this is what they've gone through. We also know at the moment that some journalists have been arrested, and we know that some of the journalists like Khurram Parvez, who
Yeah.
are actually being awarded internationally, they are still being actually detained, and they and the world is asking India to actually release them. And one thing more, India keep on calling itself the world's democracy. I would like to let the audience know, a few years ago, United Nations said to India that till you don't actually repel AFSAFA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1990 in Kashmir, you can't call yourself a democracy. And this law is actually being enacted not only in Kashmir, it's even in Seven Sisters like Manipur and Nagaland, where there is a majority of Christian people and they are suffering as well. So this is most draconian law out of all of the laws India actually has at the moment. And going back to the last point you actually made about India and Pakistan, United Nations only has two options, but yes, Pakistan is ready to give the third option. But the only condition is that once plebiscite takes part, and then the Kashmiri decide in the favor of Pakistan, then Pakistan has promised the Kashmiris that the third option will be served with them if they desire, because Pakistan, under its Article 257, Pakistan, the Constitution 1973, it will give them three rights. Either they can become a part of Azad Kashmir, or either they can become a province of Pakistan, or either they can actually have the independent state. But only Pakistan is offering. But when we think about India, India has even taken the option away of them to actually ask for plebiscite, because India is keep on saying it's an integral part of India, and then it's violating its own articles, international laws, and at the same time it's actually violating Geneva Convention, and is proving to the world that it is not a part of India by having majority of its army there, and then having like one soldier on 8 Kashmiris, and not letting them say what they want to say in open. And every other day we hear that the social media has been suspended, or the social media has been locked, or they have been put under a lockdown. So this all confirms that Kashmiris are not with India, and they have never been with India, and they will never agree with India. And the only option India has is to have a plebiscite, let them decide for themselves who they want to be with. So I would like to thank you for coming to my show today, and thank the audience for listening to me. But if you would like to add on something before we go, and many thanks, because you're not feeling well and you still actually made an effort to actually join the show. So would you like to say one or two lines, and then we can
Yeah,
say
yes. Thank you
Allah
for
Hafiz?
first of all, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for all the viewers that were there. And I think you made some very good valid points there, that you cannot compare Pakistan and India together. India has broken its own constitution, the Pakistan international law, all this, while Pakistan has not done that. Um, Pakistan has sort of recognized the right of the Kashmiri people. It's progressing better. The only thing some people feel is that, you can have the right to self-determination at the point of delivery rather than kick it into the long grass. Because
Mhm.
I've worked in politics many years, including the House of Commons here, and there's a very good political trick where he says something and he gets kicked in the long grass. So people feel to avoid that happening and to bring the conclusion of Kashmir once and for all to a conclusion which is acceptable to the people of Kashmir and the international community, the third option should be there, the point of delivery, so that it's not sort of something that rolls on and then becomes a strain and a political strain on Pakistan, Kashmir. And even to be honest with you, I mean, you say that in India, it's a strain on India as well, because 800,000 soldiers has cost them a lot of money. It's costing the people of India, where
Mhm.
300 million people cannot afford to feed themselves. Yet Modi is quite happy to be the third biggest import in the world of arms. That's what
Yes.
it's costing more. It's
I
costing
agree.
200
I
million more.
agree that like the hard earned money of actually Indian people are used on unnecessary burden on them with these war crimes, when they can set Kashmir free and they can use the money towards their own poverty. And I would like to add, while you were
Mhm.
talking about
Yeah, cool.
Pakistan earlier, that Pakistan has no draconian laws. Pakistan has no
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
impunity. But with India, not only it has draconian laws, it's even given impunity, which we spoke earlier under Section 7 with Afsafa law, that you can get away with murder. And Ponan Poshpura, which is around the corner, and it's going to be like 32 years, like since
yeah,
31 years since Ponan Poshpura took place on the 23rd of February, is
yeah.
in 1991. So till today, the army officers, the occupational forces officers who violated actually the international law and who raped the Kashmiri women, the whole regiment, Rajputana 150, like a man went and raped women between the females, not women, females between the age of between the age of 13 and 80 are still today walking around free. Nobody has actually arrested them because of this law. So I will actually like to thank everybody for coming. And I will add one thing more, Shimla contract. The reason why India did Shimla contract was because it was planned in long term, that if it can't get hold of the whole Kashmir, the Azad Kashmir and the occupied Kashmir, it can make a international border and at least it can be recognized, and Pakistan and the Kashmiris will have no say. And they wanted to disrespect the United Nations resolutions, and they wanted to keep in the United Nations out of it, the world out of it. So they made this agreement because they actually, first of all, they went to United Nations, and then they thought it's not a good idea to let United Nations tell them what to do. So this law was there to actually disrespect our right of self-referendum, and at the same time keep United Nations out of this matter by calling it a bilateral matter. Now, the reason why I brought this up now is because that agreement has been violated on the 5th of August 2019. It has nothing legally left about it. So now we shouldn't call line of control, because that was the attempt of India to build a border with time. So we should go back by calling it a ceasefire line and respecting our United Nations Security Resolution. So I would like to repeat this again, that we should always call ceasefire line. And India's one more point, I can see that's getting longer, but I'm going to complete add this in. Now India is keep on saying that the United Nations resolution says that Pakistani army should be actually taken away from Azad Kashmir, and then India can actually do the plebiscite. Now there were three steps added on, and I'm going to go very summary. I'm going to go not go into detail. First was that Pakistani nationals who were there with the intention of having a war should be taken away from Kashmir. So at that time, when this was happening in 1948, within a few weeks, the Mujahideen, the tribe men, they actually left Azad Kashmir, and the people who were serving at that time in the Pakistan army, although there wasn't much Pakistan army at that time. If you can go and research, there was only a few numbers of army. And at that time, General Gracie, who was the second in charge, he even said that we can't have a war with India. At that time, we don't have enough army. And the little army Pakistan had was serving in Rangoon, Burma at that time. So the tribemen were invited not by the army, they were invited by Kashmiri people at that time to come and help them. So they all left within that short period of time. So Pakistan actually took on board the first request by United Nations. India was told on number 2 that they need to have minimum army so they can get a plebiscite done, which India never did today. So instead of having minimum, we see that the numbers are increasing day by day. So at the moment, there are 15 like 1,000 occupation forces, and out of 15, 12,000 are actually the Indian army, and the rest are the police and the other security forces. Now, third point on the United Nations security was that India, once India has a minimum like army left there, it has to go and get in touch with United Nations to find somebody who will arrange the plebiscite for the people of Kashmir. So India till today has not actually met the requirements like 2 and 3, but Pakistan met this requirement a long time ago. So this is a point which many people don't know, and India keep on saying to Pakistan it hasn't met its first requirement. So I will end the program with this, and thank you for actually joining my show, and
Thanks for
God
having me.
bless you, and you get well soon. And for myself, have a nice evening to all my guests, to my guests and my audience, and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, everyone.